Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, let's pull up this screen. Oh, mighty Ilus. Got a lot going on.
By powers of ore which are exceptionally strong, dishes fly in the box where they belong.
That's right, mighty Ilus. This has been a couple of really rough weeks. The feds are continuing to raise interest rates, which they have to do because of terrible inflation. The government continues to spend money like crazy. I think we've now printed more money over the last 3 years. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 40% of all the dollar bills that have ever been printed have been printed in the last 36 months. And they wonder why there's inflation. They just keep throwing money at it. 500 billion here, 700 billion there, 2 trillion over there. It's crazy. And they wonder why there's high inflation. So the feds have no choice but to raise interest rates. What does that do? That pushes you into a recession, and it's a mess. It's terrible for the stock market. And higher interest rates are bad for the stock market.
How about a little fire, Scarecrow?
Yep, we're the Scarecrow, no question. Here's lovely CNBC. Dow tumbles another 180 points. Says the S&P is now 24% below its record set in January. So bear market. The 10-year treasuries up to 3.97. Says now we've made our new June lows. Tells us that the risk-off environment hasn't changed much over the course of the last 6 weeks. We're still concerned the Fed is going to overdo it and push the economy into recession. Said initially got a little relief because one of the Federal Reserve President Charles Evans signaled some apprehension about the central bank raising rates too quickly, but his comments were in contrast to a slew of Fed officials who recently reiterated a tough stance against rising prices. And these high inflation rates are killing the seniors because remember, they made their money back when payrolls were lower. Now they've got a fixed income. Well, when inflation goes up 8, 9, 10%, it devalues the value of what they've got left and what they're taking in every month. So it's a bad situation for seniors. It's terrible for them. And that's why inflation is a nightmare. It really is. And if you want to know what inflation does to a country, look at Venezuela, where they have to weigh their money to buy anything. That's why inflation's such a nightmare. And it's been since the 1970s that we've had this type of inflation, and here we are in it. And none of us have been through it unless you're, over 60. You have no idea what it's like. And I was a little kid when that happened. So, it's terrible. I hate going to the grocery store anymore. It just makes me mad. It's absurd. But let's talk about something positive. Ilus, they've confirmed its first investment project in Serbia. We've been waiting for that. It says, following a decisive meeting with the Development Agency of Serbia of the city of Kakak, I think that's how you pronounce it. The subsidies for the first Ilus investment project in Serbia have been secured and the mobilization plan finalized. And they said, our city is proud to welcome Ilus International for a long-term partnership, which is creating thousands of jobs over the next 10 years and strengthening the economy in our region. We're pleased that such innovative products will be manufactured in our region by our local people and exported to all parts of the world, said the mayor. For its first investment project in Serbia, Ilus has secured upwards of $8 million in government subsidies for Ilus EV technologies. A further 5 planned investment projects are included in the company's approved Phase 1 business plan for the region, each resulting in their own substantial government subsidies. It says, as part of the planned Phase 1 rollout, Ilus has secured a large site on the outskirts of Kakak and also has the option to secure manufacturing facilities in 2 other regions. The planned Phase 2 project is considered by Ilus as a separate project entirely. We know they've talked a lot about Phase 1 and Phase 2, involving the privatization of a large government site. Ilus is now preparing for its machinery and equipment to arrive in Serbia. This includes setting up the production line of the E-Raptor, an electric commercial utility vehicle. Simultaneously, Ilus Urban Mining Company, Replay Solutions, will be shipping its plant machinery to Serbia. So they're just rocking and rolling over there and really getting things done. So that's pretty exciting. And that was under Ilus' official Twitter account and that story as well. And as you know, I'm only investing right now in penny stocks that are profitable. Ilus is one of those. And it's kind of hard to ignore the fact that their revenue has jumped over 500% recently. And they are a profitable company, like I say, 1.1 million on 19 million in revenue. Would like to see this net income come up a little bit higher like it has been. But again, they did have a lot of non-operating expenses and the closing cost, et cetera, on a lot of what they're doing, legal fees. And of course, we know about the accounting. We know about the accounting that they just did over 2 years, and that's very expensive. If you ever paid a CPA, it's not cheap, especially going over 2 years of financials. It's just not cheap. We can see here that we're still outstanding shares of 1.325 billion. Nothing's changed as far as that is concerned, so that's good to see. We also know that they got positive outcome on the 40 million shares that should be canceled fairly shortly, I would think, and might very well show up on this on these security details at some point. Or now I don't know what they plan on doing with those 40 million shares. They might even raise some money for the company. Who knows? But it is nice that that's taken care of and on the right path. Now let's see what our boy Igel's up to. It says Ilus confirms the first investment project in Serbia, 8 million in government subsidies. First of 6 investment projects in phase 1. Phase 2 will be even larger and is a completely separate project. Negotiating contract to replace 300 firefighting vehicles. So that's always good. Then he said, this was just a couple hours ago, said, have people already forgotten that Ilus has a binding LOI with Quality International? That's something neither party can back out of. As a matter of fact, I believe they've already put $1 million down and says it's essentially a done deal. Imagine what the QIND and Ilus balance sheets will look like with quarterly revenues from a $100 million plus revenue company. Yeah, and that's definitely going to be helpful. Now, as you can see, the stock itself's down a little bit today, about 4%. It had run from 6 cents all the way up to 12 cents, a 100% run. The last purchase I made on this stock was right here at the 6 cents when it double bottomed. I thought that was a nice place to pick it up. I know there were people talking about it going down to 4 or 4.5, but it just didn't seem that would happen, especially with a profitable company. But, you know, you just never know right now. The penny stocks are very dangerous anytime, but especially right now in this environment. So that's why I'm sticking with ones that have good financials, good growth, and they're heading in the right direction. And they're also in a good sector. I like fire and safety because it has to be had. You must have fire and safety or you cannot operate a business. And I see nothing but a positive future for fire and safety in this world. So I'm just going to keep watching. Like I say, if it does, you know, drop or whatever, that's fine. I'll just pick some more up down in here. But, you know, it may or may not. If you took some profit up in here, good for you. There's nothing wrong with taking profit on a penny stock. I think that's important to remember. If you don't have a Roth IRA, you should have one, or at least look into it. They're great YouTube videos. They'll spend 10, 15 minutes going over it with you. They're unbelievably easy to set up, just as easy as any other account. Exactly the same, basically, but they have big tax advantages, and it allows you to swing trade and do things like that. Day traders have to have them. Otherwise, they're just going to get hammered. But, you know, I'm staying in some of these penny stocks because, look, I like some risk in my portfolio, and I do the 10% rule. Some of you may have a different percentage, but I just put 10% of my portfolio on penny stocks because I like to have a little bit of risk, but I also want to sleep at night. So by doing that, you know, I keep my risk level where I want it, and you know, with those stocks, I'm either going to do great with them or I'm going to lose a bunch. That's just the way it is. But I'll only lose a bunch of that 10%.
Logical.
You know, if it goes up, great. That's awesome. I'd love for my 10% portfolio to turn out to be 30 just because of growth. But, you know, we'll see. I just look at it like this.
Risk. Risk is our business.
Exactly. Risk is our business. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover Ilus. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. And we'll see you next time on Mr. Frugal Investor.